In the vastness of Kruger National Park, where life and death dance every day under the African sun, something extraordinary was about to happen. A female leopard named Siri by local researchers, known for her golden coat marked with scars from past battles, had just given birth to 3 cubs. She was an experienced mother, a survivor. But that September morning, while hunting to feed her starving cubs, Siri made a mistake. A mistake that would nearly cost her everything. She was cornered by 17 wild dogs, Africa's most efficient predators with an 80% hunting success rate. Wounded, bleeding, surrounded. No one expected what happened next. A 17-foot giraffe drew the dog's attention, and a wildlife veterinarian who had sworn never to interfere with nature broke his own rule. This is a story that science cannot fully explain. A story of instinct, sacrifice, and how sometimes in the most unlikely situations, life finds allies where we least expect them. To understand what happened that morning, we first need to know Siri. She was born in 2016, daughter of one of Kruger's most famous leopards, known as Shadow. From the beginning, Siri showed something different, a rare combination of caution and boldness. The park rangers had monitored her since she was small. She had survived a lion attack at 2 years old, losing part of her right ear. At 3, she fought an older female for territory and won. At 5, she had her first litter. Only 1 cub survived. Now, at 7 years old, she had 3 cubs just 6 weeks old. 3 lives that depended entirely on her. 3 reasons to risk everything. Dr. Marcus Vanderberg, a wildlife veterinarian for 23 years, had known Siri since she was just a bump in her mother's belly. Siri was always special, not in the romantic sense people like to give animals, but in the scientific sense. She made decisions other leopards wouldn't make. It was like she calculated risks differently. Marcus had a sacred rule he'd followed since his first day on the job: never interfere with the natural course of events. Predators hunt, prey dies. Nature has its own balance. That rule was about to be tested in a way he never imagined. 5:47 in the morning. Siri left her cubs hidden in a marula tree hollow, 10 feet off the ground. She hadn't eaten in 4 days. Her cubs needed milk, and her body needed energy to produce it. She spotted a young impala separated from its herd, an easy kill, or so it seemed. What Siri didn't see was the pack of wild dogs that had also spotted the same impala. 17 individuals, led by an experienced alpha female. They had been in ambush position for hours. When the impala bolted, everything happened in seconds. The wild dogs emerged from the low brush in every direction. Siri, caught in the middle, was exposed. Normally, an adult leopard can escape wild dogs by climbing a tree, but the nearest tree was 80 yards away, and 3 of the fastest dogs were already between her and safety. The first bite hit her left hind leg, the second her flank. Siri spun, roaring, claws out, fighting with the fury of a mother who knows her cubs will die if she doesn't return. She managed to wound 2 dogs severely, but the math was cruel. For every one that retreated, 2 more advanced. In 7 minutes, Siri was cornered against an abandoned termite mound, bleeding from multiple wounds, surrounded on all sides. The dogs knew it was just a matter of time. They are endurance predators. They wait until prey is too exhausted to fight, then they attack in unison. Siri had maybe 10 minutes to live. What happened next defies everything we know about animal behavior. A male giraffe, approximately 15 years old, the rangers called him Kosi, meaning king in Swana, was grazing about 200 yards away. Giraffes are peaceful animals, herbivores. They avoid conflict. When predators attack other species, giraffes simply move away. But Kosi didn't move away. He stopped grazing, raised his head, and started walking toward the siege. In 20 years studying giraffes, I've never seen anything like it. Giraffes don't intervene in predator confrontations. It simply doesn't make evolutionary sense. They have nothing to gain and everything to lose. What Kosi did next was filmed by a tourist on a safari 300 yards away. The video would go viral, but the full version was never released, until now. Kosi began to trot. A giraffe trotting is an impressive sight, their 6-foot legs covering ground in enormous strides. The wild dogs noticed. Some turned, barking warnings, but he didn't stop. When he reached the circle of dogs, Kosi did something biologists still debate. He started kicking, not randomly, not in panic, with surgical precision. A giraffe's kick can crush a lion's skull. The wild dogs knew this. In seconds, their formation fell apart. Some retreated. Others tried to bite Kosi's legs, but he spun, keeping them at bay. For 4 minutes and 32 seconds, an eternity in this kind of confrontation, Kosi kept the dogs busy. He didn't attack Siri, didn't look at her, simply created enough chaos for the dogs to lose focus. And then, as abruptly as it began, Kosi walked away, went back to grazing, as if nothing had happened. The dogs, confused and with 2 members wounded, hesitated. That hesitation gave Siri something she didn't have seconds before: a chance. Dr. Marcus Vanderberg had arrived at the scene 5 minutes before Kosi's intervention. He had been monitoring the wild dogs for a long-term study on pack dynamics. When he saw that the cornered prey was Siri, his heart sank. I knew she had cubs. I had documented their birth 6 weeks earlier, 3 healthy cubs, and I knew that if she died there, they would starve to death in 2, maybe 3 days. The rule was clear: don't interfere. Nature is brutal, but it's honest. Predators need to eat, prey needs to die. That's how the ecosystem has worked for millions of years. But something changed when Kosi intervened. I thought, if a giraffe, an animal that has absolutely no logical reason to help a leopard, is willing to risk its life, what does that say about me, standing here with a complete medical kit in my Jeep? When the dogs started to reorganize, Siri tried to run, but her wounds were too severe. She could barely stand. Marcus made a decision in 3 seconds that would change his career forever. He honked the Jeep's horn, once, twice, 3 times, loud, piercing sounds that echoed across the savannah. The dogs, already nervous after the confrontation with Kosi, retreated. Marcus got out of the vehicle with a tranquilizer gun and a can of bear spray. He walked directly towards Siri. I didn't know if she would attack me. A wounded leopard is unpredictable, but she looked at me. And I swear, there was something in those eyes. Not gratitude. Leopards don't feel gratitude the way humans understand it, but recognition, maybe, as if she knew I wasn't a threat. The dogs barked in the distance, frustrated, but didn't attack. Marcus quickly examined Siri's wounds. 3 deep gashes on her flank, a bite on her hind leg that had damaged the tendon. She needed surgery, and she needed to get to her cubs before it was too late. Marcus sedated Siri with a low dose, enough to transport her, not enough to leave her vulnerable for hours. He had an impossible choice to make. Option 1, take Siri directly to the veterinary clinic 40 minutes away. Full treatment, better chances of survival, but the cubs would be alone for at least 6 hours. Option 2, perform emergency procedures in the field near the cubs. Fewer resources, more risk, but it would keep the family together. He chose option 2. He called his assistant, Tandiwe, by radio. She arrived in 20 minutes with additional supplies. Together, they sutured Siri's wounds, administered antibiotics and anti-inflammatories. The damaged tendon was the biggest problem. Without proper repair, Siri would never hunt normally again, and a leopard that can't hunt is a dead leopard. Dr. Marcus performed tendon surgery in the middle of the bush, with hyenas circling 200 yards away and the wild dogs still nearby. It was crazy, but it worked. 3 hours later, Siri began to wake up. Marcus had positioned the jeep near the tree where the cubs were hidden. He could hear their thin cries, mews of hunger and fear. When Siri was conscious enough to move, she did something Marcus would never forget. She limped directly to the tree, called to the cubs with that unique guttural sound that female leopards use only with their young. One by one, they climbed down. One by one, they curled against her. And Siri lay there exhausted, wounded, but alive, and began to nurse. 1 year later, Siri was hunting again. The scar on her hind leg is visible, and she has a slight limp that will probably never go away, but she learned to compensate. Of the 3 cubs, 2 survived to adulthood, an exceptional rate for leopards. The female, named Naledi, already has her own territory a few miles from her mother. Kruger, the giraffe who defied all expectations, still grazes in the same area. Researchers have never been able to fully explain his behavior. Some theories suggest Kruger may have seen the wild dogs as a potential threat to himself and decided to disperse them preemptively. Others suggest there was some kind of recognition. Perhaps he and Siri shared the same territory for years, creating a familiarity that transcends the usual predator-prey relationship. The truth is, we don't know, and maybe we never will. As for Dr. Marcus Vanderberg, he faced criticism from purist colleagues who believe human intervention always harms the ecosystem, but he has no regrets. People ask me if I would do it again. The answer is, I don't know. Every situation is unique, but that day, in that moment, with that giraffe doing something giraffes don't do, I felt it was my turn to do something veterinarians don't usually do. Nature gave me permission. At least, that's how I understood it. Sometimes, nature shows us something that defies our categories. A giraffe that protects a leopard. A human who breaks his own rules. A mother who survives the impossible to return to her cubs. These aren't stories about animals being like humans. They're stories about all of us, humans, giraffes, leopards, being part of something greater. Something we don't yet fully understand, but that sometimes we can feel. And this story became another reminder. In the wild, survival is shaped by instinct, strength, and rare moments when help arrives from the most unexpected places.